All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before I get started, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Racha HaKwadash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. To you I say shalom. This is the brother Yeshaya coming at you again through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. And the title of this video will be They Will Seek to Please the Poor. Okay, and I just got this article right here from The Guardian, and the title of it says, "What is Project Spire and why is it dividing the Church of England?" Now, I was reading into this, and this is what kind of sparked sparked this lesson, because there's this thing where this Project Spire, right? Which is, almost like as I'm gonna read into it, you'll understand. But it's like the church trying to, or the Church of England trying to rectify the wrongs that it has done, in a sense, right? But essentially, they're trying to, with this project, they're trying to help out a lot of people that suffered from the enslavement, of the hands of these Europeans, right? But I'm gonna read a little bit into this and get some precepts. Lord willing, this be edifying. But continuing on, it says the church's 100 million euro project aims to address past connections to slavery, but critics say funds should help struggling parishes. Now, apparently they're saying 100 million, is used, or is going to be used in this project to help what the church has done during the time of slavery, to kind of rectify the wrongs it has done, and to help out those that have suffered or were descendants of those who suffered through or suffered by these policies, or papal bulls that the churches would enforce, But it says Anglican clergy in London to be asked to promote anti-racism in sermons. It says the new Archbishop of Canterbury has defended Project Spire, the Church of England's 100 million euro project to address its historical connections to transatlantic slavery, responding to a letter sent by 24 conservative MPs and 4 conservative peers. Dame Sarah Mullally, who was inaugurated last week, said the church had a calling to confront historic justice. Now, as I named the title, right, they will seek to please the poor. Well, this leads me to the scripture in the book of Job. Let me get it real quick. Job 20 and verse 10, it says, his children shall seek to please the poor, and his hand shall restore their goods, right? And his children is talking about Esau's children, right? And the poor is talking about Israelites, right? Because we're the poor in this side, right? We're the downtrodden, right? We're the oppressed, we're the poor, right? But it says his children shall seek to please the poor, and his hand shall restore their goods, right? So this is what you're seeing right now. You've been seeing it for a while. This is why Esau created these different programs for Jake to be able to receive some form of benefit or help, so to speak, in order to pay the bills or have housing and whatnot, right? And you even have certain programs that they'll implement supposedly to rectify the wrongs of slavery. You know what I'm saying? Just like this program or this project that they're trying to work on, Project Spire, right? 100 million euros, supposedly to say that they're going to use that money to rectify the wrong they have done, which there's no amount of money that you can give, or throw in our face to justify what y'all have done, right? There's no amount of money, right? And even for the Lord, there's no amount of money you can give, right? Everything is His, right? So there's nothing you can do to really rectify the wrongs you had done. The Most High already has a plan on how you're going to do that. And that's going to be by you going into slavery, right? As a matter of fact, the Spirit's already on me. Let me go ahead and get that. Revelation 13 and verse 10. It says, "He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints." So it's plain and simple, clear cut, right? You took us into captivity, so the payback is going to be for you to go into captivity, right? You kill with the sword, so you must be killed with the sword. Simple as that, Now let me get this too. I want to get this one as well. Proverbs 6. Like I said, we are the Most High's possession. We are the Most High's bride, right? So by you taking us and doing unto us whatsoever you felt like, you know what I'm saying, and destroying us and having us worship your God, and you know what I'm saying, doing all these atrocities unto us, well, there's a payback for that. There's a recompense that has to be done, but it ain't gonna be by money, right? Now this is Proverbs 6:34. "For jealousy is the rage of a man. Therefore he will not spare in the day of vengeance." You see? It says, "He will not regard any ransom, neither will he rest content, though thou givest many gifts." So it doesn't matter, the size of the bag that you give. It doesn't matter, saying, "Oh, we're going to give you all this and what they say, and reparations, and, we're going to give you, what they say, 20 acres in the mule," or however many acres they said it was, right? It doesn't matter. None of that is going to be enough to pay back what you've done to us, right? I just read to you Revelation 13 and 10. That's what's coming. See, and by them, supposedly creating these programs, to try to help out Jake, it's just it just kind of shows the guilt that Esau has, and is trying to get up under, he's trying to get up off from under that guilt. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to offload that burden up off him. But you can't. Right? Esau knows judgment is coming. And with the signs and the things that he's seen going on worldwide, oh yeah, best believe that judgment is coming. Right? But let me continue reading into this, and we'll get some more precepts. It says, Tory critics, I'm right here. But it says Tory critics has said it's wrong to try and justify diverting $100 million at a time when churches across the country are struggling to keep their doors open. Excuse me. But let me read this back, because there's a point I want to make on this. It says, Tory critics had said it's wrong to try and justify diverting 100 million euros at a time when churches across the country are struggling to keep their doors open. You see, and why is that? Because everybody knows the church is full of shit. The church never taught nobody shit. The church is a religion for slaves. Whether it's the Catholic Church, the Christian Church, they're all teaching you that plantation Christianity, man. Whether it's one form or another, you know what I'm saying? They might disagree on certain points, but at the end of the day, they ain't giving you the full, straight, uncut, right? The truth. You got the Christians over here worshiping Mary. You got the Catholics. You got the Catholics over there worshiping Mary. You got the Christians over here celebrating Christmas and not keeping the laws, and you know what I'm saying, doing all kinds of bugged out shit. Both churches are bugged out. They're both bugged the fuck out, and they have done no true good service unto you Israelites. Like I said, this religion is a slave religion. It was meant to divert your or divert you from worshiping the true power, which is Yahweh and Yahweh Shah, right? Teaching you Jehovah and teaching you Jesus, you know, those ain't the true names, right? But at the end of the day, we don't understand why. It's to keep you away from your power. It's to keep you away from being plugged into your true power source, right? That way they can maintain power and rule over you. You see? But now we're coming into a time, or we've been in a time, where the truth has been spread out. You know, it's reaching the four corners of the earth, or it has reached the four corners of the earth via the internet, you know, and Jake is waking up. Or I should say the elect are waking up. Because that's truly what matters. Because once the elect are sealed, that's it. It's a wrap. This place is set for destruction. It's ripe for destruction. And we're seeing that build up now. But anyway, let me read this back. It says Tory critics had said it's wrong to try and justify diverting 100 million at a time when churches across the country are struggling to keep the doors open, right? And like I said, why is that? It's because everybody's diverting from under these strongholds, man. Because that's what the church was. It was ultimately a stronghold on Jake's mind. But now that all that bullshit is being dismantled, you know, now Jake is, you know, moving to the truth. But then you also have some Jakes that's just sees the lies of the church. They're all bugged out and confused, so they just divert into being an atheist or whatever it is that they're, you know, trying to satisfy themselves with. You see? But the church ultimately has failed. It was founded on lies. It was founded on deception. It was founded on destroying you tribes, right? It profited off of you so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans destruction and enslavement, right? So now we're seeing the fall of this major stronghold, right? And they're using this means of, you know, trying to appease the poor, you tribes, as a form to recompense the wrong that they had done, in order to bring in more bodies to the ministry, man. This is just another ploy, man. That's all this is, and it ain't gonna work, and it's not gonna be enough to satisfy the Lord and forgive y'all for what y'all done, right? But anyway, continuing on, it says, however, Mullally said, Project Spire does not diminish the church's support of or investment in parish ministry of clergy. Far from it, support for dioceses and parishes continue to increase. The issue reflects ideological divides in a wider Anglican community. Excuse me, I just ate. But continuing on, it says, on the one hand, some feel the church has a moral obligation to redress past wrongs, and that a church committed to racial justice goes to the essence of Christianity, reflecting the significant contribution of African, Asian, and diaspora communities to the survival of the church. All right, let me see. Let me go down. It says, what is Project Spire? It says Project Spire is a reparative justice initiative by the C of E to address its past links to the trade and exploitation of enslaved African peoples. It dates back to 2019 when church commissioners, the body that manages the church's assets, decided to research the origins of a predecessor endowment fund dating back to 1704 called Queen Anne's Bounty. The research showed the fund had links through investments and benefactors with transatlantic slavery. In response, church commissioners made €100 million funding commitment to invest in a better future for all, working with and for communities affected by historic transatlantic slavery. So, like I said, they're just trying to use this as a way to, you know, get rid of that guilt, from up under him, and from the name of this church. But it says, how will the 100 million euros be used? The funding, church commissioner said, would be used to establish an impact investment fund. In finance, impact investing typically involves deploying capital to enterprises in the hopes of achieving positive social or environmental goals, as well as a financial return. Church commissioners hope Project Spire's fund, known as the Fund for Healing, Repair, and Justice, will grow over time, reinvesting returns to enable it to have a positive legacy that will exist in perpetuity, right? So they're trying to get the stain from up off them, essentially, right? It says, and with the potential for other institutions to participate, further enabling growth. But it ain't going to work. First of all, y'all's foundation is off. Y'all ain't got the truth. And the scripture says, if it's of man, it shall come to naught. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing this establishment, like I mentioned, this stronghold starting to come to naught, right? At the end of the day, all this shit is going to be destroyed anyway. But reading on, it says, the church said it hoped growth in the fund will also enable grant funding for projects focused on improving opportunities for communities adversely impacted by historic slavery. Under Project Spire, the church has also committed to further research into the church's commissioner's history, supporting dioceses, cathedrals, and parishes to research and address their past links with slavery, and sharing best practice with other organizations researching their slavery legacies. So at the end of the day, this is all part of the scriptures, right? How the Most High is making Esau bear, all these, as a matter of fact, let me get this first. Right here. Jeremiah 49 in verse 10, it says, But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. Right? Excuse me. So what we're seeing is Esau being exposed, Esau being uncovered, right? We know these churches were part of, the transatlantic slavery. They benefited off of, pretty much Jake and all the tribes, but now just a lot more information is just coming out, right? The Most High is revealing, who the devil is at the end of the day, right? The scripture talks about how the end will not come, so they'll come falling away first, right? And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, right? So now we're seeing the great, shameful spewing on all fronts. You have the Epstein thing going on, where it shows a lot of shit going on with Trump, and man, it's nasty, man. It's just some nasty business, right? Let me get that shameful spewing. Bear with me. Habakkuk 2:16, it says, Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. Right? So they're ashamed of the history that they have. Right? Especially the church. The churches, they keep, as of late, they've been receiving a lot of backlash off of what they've done, or what the origin of the institution was founded on, right? And how the past leaders would enact certain papal bulls and and agree with certain certain things that in this time will be deemed as reprehensible, right? And Esau has to try to cover for that. Some of these institutions are suffering because of the origin of or like I said, the founding of the institution, right? It's become a shame unto them, right? And as a matter of fact, let me go to this. And I'm going to close it off real soon. I don't want to make this too long. As a matter of fact, it's in the Apocrypha. It's, what was it? Sirach 41. Sirach 41 and verse 5. Verse 6. It says that inheritance of sinners, the inheritance of sinners' children shall perish, and their posterity shall have a perpetual reproach. Right? The inheritance of sinners' children shall perish. Right? Now the churches is, I guess, it ain't really their children, but I guess it's like it's been handed down to them. So what we're seeing is a church starting to lack in numbers, starting to lack in funding, starting to lack in members and bodies. You know what I'm saying? So all that shit is dwindling for them. This is why they're all, there's a divide, as we read in the article, right? The title. This is what is Project Spire and why is it dividing the Church of England? Right? People are divided because they need money, right? But then you have, on the other hand, that white guilt, to try to, save face and try to get that stain from up off of them in order for them to continue moving on, right? Because they understand that the way something came to be in the beginning, that dictates how, pretty much that's going to dictate the course down the line, right? If you establish something off of wickedness, at the end of the road, you're going to receive wickedness. And this is what we're seeing. All the shame and all the shit that's going on among these churches, right? Well, now you're seeing the numbers dwindle. That money ain't coming in like it used to, huh? You see? But it says, so they gotta get the stain up off of them, right? Which is why they're creating these little projects to please the poor. But continuing on, verse 8. Woe be unto you, ungodly men, which have forsaken the law of the Most High, for ye... Oh, Salakia, verse 7. My bad. It says the children will complain of an ungodly father because there shall be reproach for his sake. And that's what we're seeing. Now, we're in a time where Esau is tapping back into that bag of being that frothing at the mouth racist and being proud of his history and of his forefathers, right? But there was a time, where Esau, for the majority, were kept their heads down and they didn't want to, talk about slavery, or if they did talk about that, they had this like white guilt, shit going on, and but they would complain of having an ungodly father, right? Even these people, right? They're complaining of the evil works that were done, at the founding of that church, or saying what that church was involved in, right? Due to their forefathers. You see? But anyway, let me see. Let me get one more. I'm going to close it off. Because like I said, this is ultimately what's coming. You know what I'm saying? The Most High, the reason why we're seeing what we're seeing around the world, is for the controversy of Zion, right? It's all because of what was done unto the Most High's possession, But this is Isaiah 14 and 21. It says, prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. You see? So that's ultimately what's being prepared. Slaughter. Ain't no mercy going to be shown unto these devils, man. No matter how much they try to fix their wrongs, or show this, put up this front of, oh, we're gonna give y'all this much money, this much amount of money, this much in reparations. We're gonna put this project to help y'all. It doesn't matter. Scriptures say, though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not go unpunished. Right? Nahum 1 and 3, the Most High will not at all acquit the wicked. You ain't gonna be acquitted. No amount of money, no amount of silver, shekels, It's nothing you can do besides just face the facts that you're going into slavery. That's really it. For 1,000 years, and then after 1,000 years, you Edomites are gonna be rounded up and destroyed, right? Unalive. And that's it. That's gonna be the end of the Edomite race, and it's gonna be happily ever after from then on. You see? But anyway, I pray the lesson was edifying. I'm gonna go ahead and close it out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai Bahashim Racha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Until the next time, I'm going to say Shalom, Kwame Shalom.